You watch Animal Drive, a channel where I teach you to buy the right car. And today I have a 2024 Genesis GV70 with 3.5 liter twin turbo 6-cylinder engine with 375 horsepower and 391 pound-feet of torque. And I want to answer two biggest questions. Question number one, do you really need this more powerful 6-cylinder engine, or is 2 liter with 300 horsepower is really all you need? And question number two, how does this GV70 with 3.5 liter 6-cylinder engine stacks up against my BMW X3 M40i with also 6-cylinder engine? Like, there are a lot of people buying this car over the X3 M40i. So by the end of the video, I'll answer that question. I'll build a profile of a person who would buy this car over the X3 M40i. And guys, if you're watching Animal Drive for the first time, well, this is the channel where I say, before you buy a Honda, Genesis GV70 or any other car, do not settle for a 5-minute test drive around the dealership block. Instead, rent a similar car and drive it for at least 100 miles on city streets, highway, and twisty roads to be able to answer the biggest question I'm answering on this channel: how does it feel to drive? And guys, I'm trying to hit my first goal of 5,000 subscribers. So if you really like this type of content with dynamic drive reviews, hit the like button, subscribe to this channel. It'll motivate me to bring more cars on the channel. As let's face it, I don't get any press cars. I rent most of my cars, like 99%. Some of them I take as a loaners, but I literally get to say everything I want and be completely unbiased. Let's get into the video now. And first, a quick walk around this Genesis GV70 just to appreciate its exterior styling, and basically to conclude that many people are buying this GV70 because of how good it looks. I mean, look at this design. It looks really nice from all the angles. Look at this logo. This is not Bentley, by the way. This sculptured hood, this grille. Literally from all the angles, designers really thought out really well, like all the elements of this vehicle. Look at these 21-inch wheels. By the way, this is part of the sport appearance package. These are 255 40 R21 front and rear, so these are non-staggered, and these are non-run flat, meaning regular Michelin tires, and they're very, very comfy. So the side profile looks pretty nice, all these flowing lines and these sloping down roof. Now coming on the rear, I think this car looks really gorgeous from all the sides, and I understand why many people would pick this over the X3 M40i. Now let's open the trunk. Now this is where it does not shine, is the space in the trunk, right? This looks like a Toyota Yaris to me, or maybe even smaller. Here's your Velcro first aid kit. Well, but you do get spare, right? Something that you're not gonna get with X3 M40i unless you order it with the space saver that also gonna take space in your trunk. Otherwise, this car looks amazing. Like I said, comes standard all-wheel drive. It's your 3.5T logo. So I think it looks fantastic. Now let's do a quick door sound check. All right. It's a heavy door and it feels, I would say, fairly premium. This grab handle kind of has a squeaky kind of sound a little bit. But overall, it's a heavy door, so it feels somewhat premium. All right, let's get on the inside. And now getting on the inside, and let's look at this gorgeous cabin of this Genesis GV70. This is in red, and I think this is the second reason why people buy this vehicle, for its design elements, and design in general is really gorgeous. Now, first start with the quality check of these doors. These are soft touch with this red stitching, and then you'll see this aluminum trim throughout with this haptic carbon pattern throughout all the panels. And I think these design elements look really cool. A lot of like these aluminum elements even on the speakers, and overall looks pretty nice. Soft touch here. Of course, your plastic. Oh wow, this is soft touch as well. So this looks to me from this point better than the X3, I would say. Now, when we come here to the main area, right, let me first start the car. Now, what's surprising to me is this panel, right? This is a hard, it's kind of plasticky feel, but it's not plastic, I guess, because here it's soft touch. It feels really nice to the touch, but then when we come here, there is some hard feel to it. So I think they could have made this a little bit more premium feel. Now here it's soft touch, and what happens is this is kind of plasticky, right? And I even read on the Reddit, when we press, You hear this? This car only has 2,000 miles. And by the way, look at this 12.3 mpg. I'm curious what the real world fuel economy on like a, you know, road and home kind of trip, would it be better than this? Because this doesn't look encouraging, right? 12.3 miles to the gallon. Now, very cool looking steering wheel. This is the kind of leather wrapped and then red stitching throughout. I mean, design is really gorgeous. Now, how is this gonna stand the time? I don't know, because there's a lot of hard plastic stuff. Also, these aluminum trims, they really reflect a lot when there's a sunlight, so sometimes you can see stuff here. Something you'll just have to kind of get used to. And this one has a Napa leather, this quilted material, and yes, these seats are comfortable. They're not super soft, but they feel pretty good. So overall feels like it's a quality, and definitely better, even better than the BMW X3 Napa leather as well, because the seats look much nicer and I think they're softer as well. Overall, this cabin is very gorgeous looking. It's not like a Bentley type of a cabin, right? Like what I'm trying to say, you don't get all the high-end quality materials. You get a lot of plastic stuff here, but it does look nice. And by the way, what I like about like here, even though we are moving into the screen, right, for the climate control, but then it's a separate screen for climate control, not like in the new BMWs where everything is in that curved screen, including your climate control, your multimedia stuff. Here, your multimedia is kind of separated, right, from, why am I not able to get into the screen? Let's go to the home. Yeah, all the main stuff here, and then your climate control here, so you don't get kind of confused and you can operate this window separately. All right, let me show you what this room in the back like. And now I'm sitting in the rear of the Genesis GV70, and first, I am 6'2" and I have pretty decent headroom here despite this having a sloping roof, so I think they've done a fantastic job to be able to sit taller people. Now my legroom here is okay. What I really like is these buttons, right? I can move the seat forward. I think every crossover should have these buttons, including the upper part I can adjust. This is really amazing. Really like that. Now here's what your centerpiece looks like. You know, this is pretty comfortable, and you can adjust your seat. There's a handle, grab handle here. You know, that seat can recline back and forward, so you can find your comfortable position for sure. And then this is a gorgeous rear seat as well, with your quilted kind of diamond leather, Napa leather, and even these design elements. So I think overall looks nice. Now, one thing I'm surprised to see here is no climate control for rear passengers. The only thing I am also surprised to see, do you see this 110-volt socket here, the plug for your like laptop? This is the first car I see something like this in the rear. I've never seen that before, and I had to open the roof to get more light in. This is pretty well tinted, by the way, so that's a really nice option. So even though it's 95 degrees with the sun right there, it's very nicely tinted. And then there's your other partition that closes as well. So overall, pretty pleasant to sit here in the rear. Now let's go ahead and drive it. And first I'm gonna drive Genesis GV70 in the city. So I'm gonna throw the car in sport mode, not sport plus. We're gonna discuss why. Let's go to D, no cars, let's go. All right. First, we're gonna discuss quickly acceleration in this vehicle. Now, officially 0 to 60 is around 5 seconds. Depends who's reviewing this car. It can go as low as like 4.7, 5.2 seconds, so it depends. But it's not faster than the X3 M40i, which is 4.4 seconds 0 to 60 and around 4.1 seconds achieved by car and driver. But does it feel fast? It doesn't feel overly fast, but feels pretty satisfying. Let me tell you this. Let's come to the step, and we're just gonna do a quick acceleration. Yeah. Transmission shifts pretty nicely, very quick, and overall it's satisfying power. Now there is a little bit of turbo lag here and there when you trying to accelerate from, let's say, you know, mid power. Yeah, but it builds power pretty quickly, and I kind of like it more in sport mode than Sport Plus. Sport Plus we're gonna try on the twisty roads. Because in Sport Plus, the transmission kind of hangs in the lower gears and it feels like it's overworking itself. Overall, this is not bad for the acceleration, and this is how it differs also compared to the 2-liter. The 2-liter, I haven't reviewed it on this channel. I've done a few test drives, and as you know, and as a theme of my channel, you know, you should be driving a car for a day and not just going for a test drive. But from what I can tell from test drive, it felt pretty quick as well. Felt pretty adequate, and it's in fact the quickest car in the segment. It's around 5.5 seconds, 0 to 60, again, based on Car and Driver or Motor Trend. So they're not that much far apart, right? Only 75 horsepower being different. So power satisfying. The exhaust notes, not as much. The engine sound doesn't sound as satisfying as, let's say, X3 M40i, where you get the booming kind of sound. And the transmission also acts in X3 M40i almost like dual clutch, even though it's a regular 8-speed with torque converter, but it sounds very quick and snappy. Here it's also quick, but it's not on the same level as the X3 M40i, especially when we get to the Sport Plus, which I'm gonna discuss more. So yes, power is pretty adequate. Now next, let's talk about steering in this car, right? Let's go back to the comfort. Steering is on the lighter side, I would say. This car, you can tell, overall built more for comfort, right? So the biggest difference, let me start unpacking all the stuff. Between this and, let's say, X3 M40i is, of course, X3 M40i has a shorter travel suspension, and that car is more built for sport and some comfort. Where this car is built primarily for comfort, that kind of like your upscale feel, right? But then it has sport characteristics built to it. So these are your two biggest differences, that this is a more comfy car than the X3 M40i. So steering is kind of light in the comfort eco mode, but it tightens up quite a bit actually in sport and sport plus mode. Especially when you drive around the corners in sport plus mode, you can feel how it tightens up quite a bit. So that's kind of cool. Now, and then next thing, let's jump into the suspension, right? My favorite part. How, let's say, the base Genesis 2-liter is different than this one. Well, it's the chassis control, suspension, shocks, right? This car has electronically controlled suspension, or what's called electromagnetic valve in its shocks, that regulates the hydraulic fluid based on the input it receives from the road. And that makes it more sophisticated. And you know, the more you spend time with cars like this one or the X3 M40i, or even, you know, I drove the Lexus RX 500h that had a similar type suspension, basically electronically controlled, you will feel that it's more sophisticated, and it doesn't have to be firm. It literally depends how they're gonna tune it. But what you do see and feel is that, you know, level of refinement that these suspensions have, because they literally do adapt to the road conditions. So the base 2-liter turbo Genesis does not get that. It gets a base gas pressurized shocks, meaning your performance is pretty solid, pretty comfortable, but it's the same throughout your low speed, high speed, whatever you do, it's going to be pretty much the same. Where this changes with the input from the road, and also it changes from your driving modes. Like as we go to the sport mode, like literally, if I put it in sport mode and I'm driving on this little bit, you know, not perfect road, it adjusts in a split second, and you can tell how it became a little bit firmer. It tightens up a little bit. So that's pretty cool. So let me drive on my favorite Tampa Avenue on a bumpy roads to discuss what is the damping like in this car. And now driving on my favorite Tampa Avenue, this beat up road, just to discuss how does it soak the bumps, right? All these imperfections. So this being on the comfort side with regular tires, non-run flat tires, it soaks the bump fairly well. Now this is not your Lexus RX 350 or 500h type of a suspension where it smoothens out even more. You can tell that this car is built for performance more. So even though it's smoother than the X3 M40i, more comfortable, still it picks up quite a bit. Even when we drive on better roads than this, you can still feel those little ticks, like it transfers into your, you know, the way you feel them. So it picks up even smaller things as well, but they just feel kind of comfortable. Whereas BMW X3 M40i has a shorter travel suspension, and it does feel quite firmer, even though it still feels pretty smooth. And for people who like firmer ride, but they kind of want that smoothness, that car has it. And this car is just far more comfortable because it's tuned for comfort more. And now I kind of want to see what is it like day driving this car, like daily driving it. So overall, it's a very smooth car. It's not a car to have, you know, a lot of fun where you can throw it around, where you can, it is capable. And I'm just kind of jumping ahead of myself as we're gonna talk about this on the twisty roads. It is capable, but it's more of a car to enjoy its smooth kind of ride, this very nice looking cabin, right? And it doesn't scream sport. It doesn't scream like performance. It is just a car that is smooth, but it's just capable of going faster. It's capable of better acceleration. And let's answer my first question. Do you need this versus your 2-liter turbo? And the answer is no. I didn't find that I want to buy this car, that 3-liter V6 twin turbo, over the 2-liter. Let's face it, the 2-liter is already fast. They made the fastest car already in the segment. And now this car, really, the biggest difference is you have electronically controlled suspension. So yes, I like the suspension definitely more, as it kind of adapts more to the roads. The other part, yes, it is more powerful, but do you know how thirsty this engine really is, especially on these 21-inch wheels? It is really more thirsty than the X3 M40i. So in this segment, there's a stop right here, I definitely would get the X3 M40i for the sport. Like if you're looking for sport, then X3 M40i is a no-brainer, right? Now, if you're looking for this appearance, you really like how this car looks, you like the smoothness of this car, then I literally would stay with the 2-liter turbo. Now, rent it for the day, you know, don't just go to the dealership, drive around the block and settle. No, rent the 2-liter for the day, drive it, make sure it fits your personality, drive your favorite roads, and then you will see if this is the car you like it or not. Personally, I think 2-liter is literally all you need. I don't think you need to go extra mile and get this 3.5-liter engine vehicle. Now, let me go ahead and hit the highway to discuss its sound insulation and what is it like driving it for long trips. And I'm about to merge the highway, more bumpy roads, just to appreciate how smooth it is on these imperfected roads. And yes, if this is what you want, if you want this comfort, even over the bumpy roads, then this car definitely would come superior over the X3 M40i, as it feels more comfortable with better seats as well. The problem I mentioned in X3 M40i is the seats, right? Now that there's X3 M50 coming out, that might have better seats. Now let's floor it. Yeah, this is good power. All right, this V6 opens up here with twin turbo. Now, honestly, kind of expected to be faster, you know, for twin turbo V6, kind of expected to be faster. Like the BMW feels quite a bit faster. It does feel faster. Plus with all those shifts, even in comfort mode, it's not as snappy in terms of transmission, but it feels more satisfying for sure. Now, first thing, let's talk about the sound insulation. Now we're gonna go, you know, like around 65. Yeah, 61, 62 I would say. So I think sound insulation in this car is a tick better than the X3 M40i. It definitely feels that way. I don't hear the cars passing by. I can hear the road a little bit, but overall it feels pretty quiet. One thing people complain about the X3 M40i is the wind noise that comes from the front windshield. I don't find that excessive, but I understand what people talk about. So here is definitely better. You don't hear any kind of, you know, wind noise from the windshield. It feels pretty well insulated cabin, that's for sure. The other part, all right, let's discuss what is it like driving this car for long trips. Well, it's built for comfort, so it's pretty comfortable. I definitely like the seats. They're fairly comfortable, especially with this Napa leather. you can definitely spend time in this car, you know, adjust your seat to your liking, and you're good to go. It's very smooth in the comfort mode. Yeah, definitely you can spend hours in this car. The other part, let's discuss the mid-range power, right? So now I'm gonna throw it in the sport mode just to get transmission to be a bit more responsive. All right, floored. Builds power. Yeah, it's quite a bit more than the 4-cylinder. So one complaint I read on Reddit about the 2-liter is the mid-range power, although it has 311 pound-feet of torque. I haven't tested it myself because, you know, that car, like I said, I only test drove it at the dealership. You know, that's not the way to do it if you really want to immerse yourself in the car. This is the way to do it. So let's do it once again. I'm gonna floor it. Actually, let me put it in comfort mode and then floor it again to see if there's a lag. All right, the transmission come down. All right, floor it. All right, builds power. Okay, yeah, it takes a little more time, but you know, it's fairly adequate. Now let's go into the sport mode. Another thing, I keep seeing people, they switch the modes, you know, on the freeway to make it go faster, right? But you can use paddle shifters for that. So floor it. Yeah, of course, in sport mode, it's more responsive. And it's pretty satisfying for sure. One thing you will also see compared to the 2-liter, this is a heavier car for sure. And it feels a little bit more commanding. The 2-liter will feel a little bit bouncier, a little lighter. So this feels a little bit more planted, like that heaviness kind of helps it, right? And the fact that it has electronically controlled suspension, that's what is also going to help it in the twisty roads as well. And that's exactly where I'm going right now, so we can discuss the safety, balance, and how this electronically controlled suspension actually behaves on the twisty roads. All right, catch you soon. And now I'm gonna drive Genesis GV70 on the twisty roads. I'm gonna put it in Sport Plus mode to discuss its performance. All right, let's go. And we get to hear a little bit of the engine sound. Quicker, snappier shifts, definitely in Sport Plus. Now, one thing I found spending a little bit of time in, you know, Sport Plus mode is that transmission sometimes feel a little bit overworked, like it hangs in these lower gears and it, you know, almost like doesn't want to come out of there. So it's not very intuitive sometimes at how it works in the Sport Plus modes. It wants to like stay in those lower gears no matter what. So it felt that way. Like the X3 M40i, even in Sport Plus mode, when not much happening, it definitely upshifts and it, you know, makes sure it doesn't feel overwhelmed. So immediately, let's talk about the chassis. Like what separates this car from 2-liter is its electronically controlled chassis, and in Sport Plus mode, it really presses the car down. It becomes firmer, and here on the twisty roads, you can definitely see how it behaves. The car does feel pressed down. Really like that. You can tell, you know, that it is really well balanced and controlled in the corner. There's no funky, you know, shaky movements of the chassis. It shifts pretty confidently from left to right. There are no big shifts. The lean is there in the corner, but it's very well controlled. Like it's not overly leaning. It definitely nice. And in the Sport Plus mode, with the firmer setup, it's just enough, you know, to get through the corner. Also, we don't have wider tires in the rear. I don't know if you hear the transmission, how it just overreacts, I would say. So we don't have wider tires in the rear, but yet these 255s hold this car really well. And that kind of tells you that the engineering behind this, you know, chassis is done pretty well. So this car is pretty safe. Like if somebody brakes in front of you, definitely you can rely that, you know, these tires will have enough grip. This suspension will not do anything unwanted. It is very predictable and it's grippy. Like the whole combination is pretty well set up. Steering also is kind of firmer, and here on a twisty roads, it responds really well. Now, what feels a little underwhelmed is brakes, I would say. They're okay, but in a little bit more kind of stressful environment, they don't feel as powerful, right? And again, the transmission downshifts and it just hangs in there. I understand that it wants, that aggressive input from me, but what if I'm not driving aggressively? Sometimes it forgets that. So that's where I found transmission to be a little bit not as regulated, I would say, depending on what you do. But otherwise, the best part of this driving experience on the twisty roads at a little bit faster speed is the chassis. I think they've done a tremendous job to control this chassis, and it shows really well. So if you guys never gonna have fun on the back roads, if you're never gonna experience it, there's literally no point, I would say, in even trying for 3.5 liter. The 2 liter will be all you really need to see how it keeps the car down in the sport mode, more aggressive mode. You have to experience it where you can twist the car more. Then you'll see how well the chassis is going to follow. All right, let me go ahead and summarize this. And I just completed driving dynamic review of this 2024 Genesis GV70 3.5 liter twin turbo engine. First, actually, let me show you this sticker real quick. And here's a sticker for this 2024 Genesis GV70. This is total price is $66,275. And here you can see is this Sport Advanced package, $6,400. So the sticker price on my car is $65,900. So it's nearly the same identical sticker price. Now you'll say this car has more features than mine. Yes, it has a Nappa leather and 21-inch wheels, whereas mine doesn't have Nappa leather and it has a 20-inch wheels. But then mine has a head-up display, which of course some of you might not be the fan. And it has a mild hybrid as standard. It's a really cool technology that the BMW integrated that not only helps you a little bit with the fuel efficiency, but also makes a lot of operations very smooth, where it can coast and turn off the engine. In EcoPro mode, it literally behaves like hybrid. So it's definitely a good thing to have, and it makes the car feel more premium. But now let's get back to our main point, and these are the 2 points. Should you get this over the 2 liter turbo Genesis? And the answer is no. I already kind of answered that. I didn't find that performance of this vehicle is so good, so elevated that you want to have this car. Yes, in sport mode, it does feel more dynamic. It feels, like I said, more pressed to the ground. That helps it to get through the corners. The engine is a bit more powerful. Of course, you have that better mid-range acceleration, but yet it's a thirsty engine. So I'm honestly probably even gonna do my own MPG test on this vehicle to see what is it like compared to the X3 M40i. So you're not gonna get that level of performance, and if that's what you're looking for, I highly suggest you look at the X3 M50 that's just came out, or the X3 M40i that you can still buy brand new for the 2024 model. Otherwise, most people are gonna buy this car for the way it looks and for smooth driving, and for that 2 liter turbo engine is literally all you need. Your 0 to 65.5 seconds, 300 horsepower. It's the most horsepower in the same segment, so you're already getting powerful enough engine. So just get that car and you're gonna get all this cool interior and exterior appearance with that. The second, this car versus the X3 M40i, well, if you're looking for the sport, if you really want driving dynamics, you want to enjoy driving the car for its sporty characteristics, then there's literally no match. This car cannot be compared to the BMW, because everything BMW does, the X3 M40i, is just a few levels above than this car. Acceleration is level above with its legendary B58 engine. Going through the corners, it's a shorter travel suspension, sportier suspension. The only down kind of turn in the X3 M40i is it's a ride comfort in the city, right? This feels smoother, more comfortable. But if you like how that car does, the performance in that car, you're gonna also appreciate even how smooth it is on the bumpy roads, because it does it in a certain style with a certain BMW signature that only BMW has, not even Porsche. Porsche does it in a different way. So If you like the performance, then X3 M40i is definitely a level above. But if you like I said, exterior, the appearance of this vehicle, then just get a 2-liter turbo. That's literally all you need. So let me know what you think. Do you have this car? Are you planning to buy this car? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to watch another video for me talking about the BMW X3 M40i, I'm gonna link my playlist and you can review that car there. I have so many videos about that car. And I'll catch you in the next video.